Hello, everyone. My name is Ann Saulsbury, and I'm the Director of Retail and Consumer Goods at Microsoft. And Cracker Barrel is one of my customers, one of my favorite customers. So
super. Has to say that.
I do have to say that. But super excited to have a little chat about marketing today. I'm local to Austin. It's my first South by ever. So I'm very excited to be here.
Cool.
Welcome.
Thanks. Happy to be here. Sarah Moore, CMO of Cracker Barrel. Not my first South by, but happy to be back.
Awesome. All right. So you've been in your role at Cracker Barrel for about 8 months now. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct.
Yes.
Feels like 8 years and 8 minutes.
I bet, for sure. Can you talk a little bit about your vision for the company and some of the priorities that are important to you that you might want to tackle first?
Sure. So I'll actually start with not my vision, but our CEO's vision. So if you're not aware of kind of what's happening at Cracker Barrel, we brought in a new CEO about 1.5 years ago. And May of last year, we announced a robust kind of full business transformation. So this isn't just a brand transformation. It's a full transformation across the business. And it really covers down on 5 things. First, there is a brand kind of redefine as a part of that process, but it's also innovating our menu, evolving our menu. That also includes just how our food is made, what our kitchen looks like. Then there's our digital transformation and winning in loyalty and winning in off-prem. Then there's also the guest experience, the physical stores. What do the stores look like? How do they feel? How are we servicing our guests in our stores? And then finally, and quite honestly, the most important is our employees. How are we crystallizing and creating ambassadors of our employees and ensuring that all of this is really driving the value that they need to deliver on. And so that's really where it started. That was the vision. For me, I think everybody has an origin story with Cracker Barrel. I could probably ask anyone in this room on when they first experienced the brand, and 99.9% of the time, that story is full of emotion and nostalgia. And so I myself have that. And so when this opportunity came, first, just being a nerdy brand strategist, I was like, oh, that'll make a nice white paper if we do this right. But also, it felt like one of those brands that deserves to evolve. Not all brands do, but this one did. And we just celebrated our 55th anniversary. And so for me, it was what a great opportunity to take that framework of the transformation and come in and set the brand up for the next 55 years. And what I like to say is that if you haven't experienced a Cracker Barrel in a minute, I really charge you to go out there and see it because there is a bit of a if you know with this brand, and they have evolved in a lot of ways. And so I didn't even realize it until I really got under the hood. And so for me, my personal vision is just to expose more of that. People love this brand, and so inviting more people to come and experience why.
Awesome. You talked a little bit about loyalty programs, and coming from the hospitality industry, you could argue that they sort of invented the loyalty program. And now you have extensive experience in that place, and so we'd love to hear about how you plan on taking those learnings and that experience and bringing that to life at Cracker Barrel, understanding that different core audience for sure, but lots of similarities as well.
Absolutely. And so prior to Cracker Barrel, I was with MGM Resorts for 17 years. And so that's what she's referring to. The casino industry, nobody does it better in the loyalty space than the casino industry. And that really is just, it's being grounded in the data and knowing your customers and activating it real time. It's as simple as that. But being with the hospitality industry as well, that adds another layer. And I think that's what has really helped me transition into the restaurant industry, is having that foundation of knowing your customers, personalizing your engagements with them, but then also that layer of hospitality. And that is always wanting to deliver the best experience and kind of preempting that experience. And that's what the hospitality industry does. And so bringing that to Cracker Barrel, it was a natural transition because nobody does country hospitality like Cracker Barrel. It's one of the reasons we really are, we're evaluated as part of the casual dining industry, category, but we are literally a pool of one. Nobody has the dichotomy of our retail and our restaurant experience, and nobody has that authentic kind of country hospitality. And so it was natural also that we launch a loyalty program, and we're in the very early stages of our loyalty program. But we're less than 15 months in. We're at over 7 million members, and we have insane amounts of engagement. Our loyalty members are highly active. They come more often. They spend more. They have bigger baskets. It's really incredible. And so I think that for us was one, it was natural for all those reasons to do it. But now seeing the engagement and what it's done for us to really drive our first party data strategy, it's all about how can we ramp that and how can we accelerate our tech roadmap.
Absolutely. You mentioned data, and I would be remiss if I didn't dig down into that a little bit, seeing as how I work for Microsoft. But when you think about data, that can mean a lot of different things. But in your situation, you mentioned personalization as well. And as you try to appeal to larger audiences and different demographics, how are you using data and how are you thinking about that to make sure that the personalization that you're working on is something that's relevant to customers?
Well, I mean, it's a pretty kind of, it's really about building our personalization capability. We have this loyalty program. We started to have this wealth of data that we never had before. We're starting to understand the engagement between the different kind of cohorts within our guest segmentation. So we have retail guests and we have restaurant guests, and now we're learning, wow, there's actually both of those. And so for us, it was just kind of started coming organically as we built the loyalty program. But then it was like, nope, now we know we need to put a CDP in. So we're building our CDP right now. We needed to bring in a personalization engine, and so we're rebuilding everything. And so for us, data is literally everything, especially in this incredibly competitive, tumultuous category as well. And so that's just kind of table stakes, right? But then add in the fact that we're in the first year of a 3-year transformation journey. And the only way we grow is if we start to understand our customers, but really more importantly, start to grow that and kind of open that aperture for all of those customers, again, that might not have given us trial before, but we're seeing in our other channels, whether it's across social or elsewhere, that they are starting to engage. And so our ability to recognize, capture, and then engage them in a way that means something to them, because we know Gen Z is very different than our core customer, is literally one of our strategic levers for our ability to actually grow.
Absolutely. You mentioned Gen Z. So according to Goldman Sachs, one of the largest demographics in history is getting ready to enter their prime buying years. So seeing as how millennials and Gen Z will soon account for over half of the consumer landscape in America, how's Cracker Barrel really adopting its loyalty program to engage a younger customer that you might not have ever had before? So how are you thinking about that?
Well, it starts actually long before our loyalty program. That's when we feel like we've won, when we get them in the loyalty program. But one of the things that I think I was so surprised about this brand, I thought I knew, but I had no idea, is how organically we are already showing up in kind of culture. And like whether it's, celebrities, Shabuzi just posting a photo in front of his favorite restaurant, or us, Jason Bateman talking about us on the Smart List podcast, like we're showing up everywhere. And I think historically, we as a brand haven't really leveraged that in a way that we were agile, we could kind of fuel that fire, we could jump in, we could see it. And so first and foremost, it's about just being always on and kind of listening to what's happening out in the world. When it comes to Gen Z specifically, like I said, if you haven't been in a Cracker Barrel retail store lately, you are missing out. It is like, there are such treasures. And so Gen Z loves us. They love 90s nostalgia right now. I don't know if you noticed that, but like we have this incredible, maybe not incredible, but we have this really unique kind of clever sweatshirt that had like embroidered bass fish and Labradors on it, and they like came and they ate it up. And so they started coming and buying it. And what do? We jumped into that conversation. We started sending them out, and we sold out system wide. And so for us, it really, the moral of the story is like, pay attention. be listening. Don't be sitting there thinking about what you're going to talk to them about. Let them tell you, and then jump into that conversation and fuel it. And so we're starting to learn how they engage with our brand, and it's through retail. That's the biggest unlock. So, okay, that's our way in with them. And so then we start proactively targeting them and marketing in that way, and then that's going to drive our creativity. What do our collabs look like? All of those things. And then the end goal, obviously, is to get them in loyalty. And then we're actually personalizing their communication relationship with us.
Absolutely. I love the sweatshirt story. And now I want to see.
You should check it out on TikTok.
Yes, you're going to have to go find it. You can't buy one.
You would never know.
Yes, they're all sold out. Speaking of the younger generation and influencers and brand collaborations, are you thinking about that in a different way than you have before? And did the sweatshirt incident, so to speak, change how you're thinking about that? Sort of more of this, less of something else?
Absolutely. So historically, we've been a very humble brand. We've been a bit earnest, more, we're here to welcome you in when you're ready. But we have the credibility, right? We have the authentic hospitality culture. We have incredible product. We have incredible experience that nobody else has. And so in the last, 6 or 7 months, it really has been a focus on how are we engaging in those ways? How are we standing up our earned strategy? How are we engaging influencers versus being reactive to influencers? And so seeing how, organically this is happening a la the sweatshirt, it really fueled, okay, how are we bringing in influencers and using them to our advantage? And so we had, our first brand ever influencer event back in the fall, where we invited all of these kind of, lifestyle and niche influencers in to come in and experience our restaurant, our menu, see what's coming down the pipeline, but also, they basically went on a shopping spree. And again, that sentiment that I love to talk about of like, if you know, they're walking around our store and they're like, I had no idea. That's what we're trying to bottle up. But it has definitely fueled our influencer strategy, our organic social strategy, but then also brand collabs. Like when you look out, it's crazy what's happening out there with collabs right now. Some of them are head scratchers and some are like, that's incredibly clever. We just have so much authenticity and brands want to work with us. So now it's just, how do we maintain that authenticity? How do we come at this from a place that feels intuitive but clever? And so you'll see a lot coming from us in terms of our branded collabs.
Awesome. You mentioned if you know, and that was something that you talked about in an early interview after joining Cracker Barrel. What do you think that people should know that they don't? What vision can we bring to life? That if there's one thing that everyone should know about Cracker Barrel, what would you say that is?
I think, I think there's a misconception about kind of, country tangential brands, and that's not us. And so if there's one thing I would want everyone to know is, one, we are on this transformation journey, but it will not be a new Cracker Barrel. It will be an evolved Cracker Barrel. It will be one that is approachable to all kind of cohorts and kind of all groups in a way that feels contemporized and feels, like it's going into the future, but it is still very much grounded in who we are. And there is something very, very special about this brand. And so you don't have to wait for that transformation. Come now, see it, come to a retail store, see what incredible treasures we have. The food is incredible. We have the best pancakes out there. People just don't realize how much love and how much kind of authenticity in this brand, and we're just making it better.
Love that. One of the things that your CEO said is that Cracker Barrel's superpower is value. Seeing how in this consumer marketplace, it's very crowded with value propositions, especially as we look at inflation and the rising cost of living. How does Cracker Barrel differentiate itself from a value standpoint and hopefully being superior to the competition?
Yeah, so value right now is like, it's kind of a wild thing. And so in our category specifically, it is highly competitive, is highly saturated. But for us, value has always not just meant kind of your traditional like meal deal at. For us, value is abundance, quality, at a really good price point. And so one of my favorite facts about the brand is that the casual dining category, the average check is $27. Ours is $14. and our portions are huge. And so you can come and get an incredible quality meal and you will have leftovers at a really incredible price point. And so for us, we will continue that. That's not something we're going to change. We haven't said we're going to go and kind of, we have a barbell strategy. We're looking at taking price in the right ways on our kind of strategic pricing evolution, but it is always at from the standpoint of like, preserving those price points, preserving those entry points, ensuring that there is something for everyone, and that's not going to change.
Yeah, it's interesting. Just last week, we were meeting with the IT department at Cracker Barrel, and someone mentioned just the price of eggs and how a lot of your competition is passing that along to consumers. You see that printed on menus or signs, on tables, and that's not something that Cracker Barrel decided to do. Can you talk a little bit about that, and if that message is sort of more of a viral type thing, or if that's something that you're sort of trying to take credit for, take advantage of in the market?
So this was a really interesting point for the brand. So if I don't know if anyone saw it, but some of our competitors came out with the egg surcharge, basically passing it on to the customer. And there's transparency there. There's something, commendable about that as well. But we said, how are we going to handle this? And at the end of the day, it definitely wasn't about taking credit. It wasn't about attacking competitors. It was, these are the moments that define a brand. And we sat in a room and there was a lot of anxiety. And we said, at the end of the day, we deliver country hospitality and we are not going to, veer away from that. So we came out and just very publicly said, we are not going to do an egg surcharge. We're going to eat it for you, because back to the value question, that preserving that entry level price point for our most loyal core guests was so incredibly important. And their loyalty to us means everything. So even furthermore, we're going to reward you for coming in and eating eggs with us. And so we actually, rewarded our loyalty members. And it really was just one of those moments, those 24 hours where you're like, what do I stand for and how do I leverage this moment in time? And that's really what drove us to make that decision, because at the end of the day, we're not going to do anything in spite of our guests.
That's awesome. One of the 5 pillars that you sort of talked about, your CEO has talked about, is menu revamps. Mentioned a lot in the go forward strategy. I've personally tried the Oreo pancakes. They are amazing. I don't know if that's just a Texas thing. It sounds like
it's system wide.
Okay.
Yeah, you can get our Oreo stuffed cheesecake pancakes.
Yes, and that's how, if you know, you know.
But not like you will only eat that for the day. So
yes, for sure.
Indulgent.
Yes. Where do you see marketing's role in sort of bringing those new menu items and menu revamps to life? And are you thinking about, social aspects, apps like TikTok and Instagram, but also ones like DoorDash and Uber Eats? Like, how do you see those kind of weaving into the strategy?
Sure. So I actually oversee culinary as well. So marketing is at the table quite literally for every discussion around kind of menu innovation in the pipeline. And for us, it's a couple of key things. Our menu strategy is really 3 things. One, first and foremost, it's just how are we creating a best-in-class core menu? When you think of Cracker Barrel, you think of pancakes, you think of chicken, you think of sides. Like, we want to have the best of those. So it really is that classic core menu and just continuing to kind of up the quality and level there. Next, it's really around leaning into what we do best, breakfast. We offer all-day breakfast. People don't realize this. It's one of those if you know things. And so leaning into what we really do best. And then third is innovating in a way that isn't just for kind of disruption's sake. Like, we could go put a ton of things on the menu, but they don't make sense to us. I'm sorry, we will most likely never have an avocado toast. Doesn't really track with our brand, but as we look at innovation and we think about the balance of, again, indulgent and better for you options, that is absolutely at the forefront of our strategy. But for us, it's about how do we take the things we do best and innovate on those and create kind of classic intuitive extensions that are innovative but not out there. So for example, in the fall, we launched our hash brown casserole shepherd's pie. It's a bit of a mouthful. but literally and figuratively. And so it takes like our unbelievable pot roast and it puts it on a bed of our incredible mashed potatoes, which like have a cult following, and then takes our hash brown casserole, which is like our signature kind of brand side, and puts it all together in one mouthwatering dish. And so that, for us, it's our pancakes. You know, we're not in the waffle game. Never say never, but we're probably not going to be in the waffle game anytime soon. So how do we take something we do so incredibly well, pancakes, and innovate on them? And so stuffed cheesecake pancakes. And then it was like, oh, well, how do we now partner with something that feels right for the brand? So Oreo, and they came to the table and they did a whole bunch of collab work with us, and it was great. So when we think about menu and innovation, it is very much driven from, one, our new brand positioning and how that translates, again, across all those 5 parts of the business. But is always deeply rooted in who we are.
Absolutely. Speaking of who you are, and you mentioned this at the beginning, Cracker Barrel is a very unique brand in that it is both a restaurant and a retailer. So knowing that unique sells, especially to some of these younger generations, is that a factor in your go-to-market strategy from a marketing perspective specifically? You mentioned that there's retail customers that aren't restaurant and vice versa. I was actually surprised to hear that. And so would love to get your thoughts on, how you're thinking about that and, how it is to compete in some cases as a pool of one, so to speak.
It definitely makes our business complex, but that's really when you think about, our data strategy, it's all about that. It's how are we understanding the nuances and behaviors of our retail customers, of our restaurant customers, so we can convert them and drive bigger basket. Like that's what we're really trying to do here. And so it is very much at the forefront of as we launch our personalization capability, but it's all about how are we opening the eyes of current guests and prospective customers on the full experience that no one else has.
I love that. Before we wrap up, is there anything that you would like the group or me or anyone to know that we haven't touched on? Maybe going back to if you know, or the one thing that you're the most excited about you see in the future.
I mean, it's really just kind of reiterating what I said. What I'm most excited for is for more people to understand what makes our brand so special. And I mean it when I say this is an evolution. This transformation isn't a light switch moment. So you're going to start to see, even if you don't patronize us, you're going to start to see how we show up, our communications, our marketing materials, our tone. Everything really is changing, and so we're starting to apply it. So you don't need to wait for a moment. Come see us now. Come see us again in 6 months, and you'll understand kind of how this is a gradual progression. But the beauty of it, as I've said a number of times, is we are not changing who we are. We know who we are. People love us. We just know more people can love us.
Awesome. Thank you.
We've got 5 minutes for questions from the audience.
Fast.
Anybody have a question? In the back?
What do you love about it?
She was first, Mike.
The chicken soup or chicken dumplings are so good. I'm from Dallas. It's nostalgia. The retail store is awesome. I love fashion, so I buy a lot of trinkets there.
Can't hear you. I'm sorry.
I buy a lot of trinkets in the retail store for fashion.
We have
Very
trinkets,
cute.
but we also have incredible apparel. People have no idea. We have some great clothes. We have great baby clothes. Our kids' clothes are amazing. But yeah, thank you.
It's so great.
Appreciate your love.
Yeah.
Hi there. One of the coolest things that Cracker Barrel does is allow people a safe and free place to park and camp overnight in like an RV or a van.
I need to hire all of you.
I only know this because my daughter and her friends in college basically made their way across the country at Cracker Barrels, and then they would have breakfast there every morning. So is that something that you talk about at all or market around?
So it's interesting. It's one of those unique things about the brand that many people don't know. We allow overnights in our parking lot. So we get a lot of buses, we get a lot of tour buses, RVs that sleep in our parking lots. We market it specifically, B2B. So the bus companies know, but it is one of those unique things about the brand that I think we have an opportunity to leverage more. A little bit of sneak peek is we're really evolving how we are going to collaborate in the music space. And so you're going to start to see this kind of notion come up as part of our, music evolution.
I like to work off the pancakes on the rocking chairs.
Yeah, rocking chairs aren't going away. Like the things that make the peg games, y'all can sleep easy tonight. We're not taking peg games off the tables. What makes us special is staying. We're just evolving.
Great. We have time for one more right over here.
Hi, my name is Lauren. I'm with Whole Foods, and I'm actually a former Cracker Barrel employee. So through high school,
Told you, everyone has a story.
yeah, through high school, and then the first part of college, I worked as a server, and that was one of my favorite jobs ever at Cracker Barrel. I just have so many good memories there. But you spoke about personalization, and then about how there's the two different audiences y'all have for retail versus restaurant. What does targeting look like on, like, do you all target on your marketing channels, and like, what does that look like with your two different audiences?
So yes, I mean, we target, absolutely. And so we have, based on kind of the data that we've compiled to date, we have a pretty extensive segmentation strategy that also obviously feeds our media strategy and all of that. But we're pretty early on our kind of technical transformation roadmap. And so right now we are building that personalization capability. We are bringing in a CDP. So like everything is just coming together. So ask me that in a couple months.
Great. Well, thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Big round of applause, please. For Ann and Sarah.